But
I do have one thing to ask. If you hear something that you do not like and it makes you angry or makes you feel some kind of way, you get triggered, don't leave. Stay to the end and let us have the opportunity to maybe change your train of thought on some things or change your paradigm. That's all I'm asking. And
Coming to you from the Taft Podcast Studio in the heart of JXN GOP headquarters. This is Stars, Stripes, and Straight Talk with Chris and Dave.
hey, what is going on? Thanks for stopping back by the channel. This is Stars, Stripes,
and Straight Talk
with Chris
and Dave.
And boy, do we got a show for you today.
Yeah, this is going to be a good one. But before we get started, I would like to welcome on and thank one of our new sponsors.
Oh, yeah.
Daily Cap Fungi.
Daily Cap Fungi.
Yeah, these guys are pretty awesome. They grow organic, fresh mushrooms.
Oh, nice.
Lion's manes, maitakes, blue oysters, a whole different variety.
Really?
Actually, I'm not a big mushroom guy myself, but
They
I'll tell you
do.
what.
Do they do those nice mushrooms?
No, they're not.
Oh, come on.
They don't make you see purple.
Come on.
But they do a lot of good medicinal properties.
Awesome.
But you can check them out at dailycapfungi.com.
Okay.
They're local right out of Spring Arbor, Michigan.
Awesome.
And you can find them every Friday at the Grand River Market.
Awesome.
So go down and
awesome.
Go down there, tell Big T that Dave and Chris sent you there from Star Stripes Straight Talk.
I appreciate that, Big T. It's fun to see how we're growing, right? We keep getting new sponsors, and that to me means that people like listening to us. And if you're new here, welcome. If you've come back, welcome to the squad.
Yes.
I mean, I guess we could call you Stars and Stripes Squad.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, we might have to come up with a better name than that.
Something. Put it in the comments.
What should the listeners be called? There you go.
What would you like us to call you? We are trying to grow a community here, so it's going to get heavy.
Yeah, today's episode is going to get a little deeper in the weeds, a little more serious. I know we have another episode coming up, which is going to be pretty fun and light.
I hope.
It should be. It should be based off some of the pre-show prep that we've done on that. It's going to be a good one. But
I do have one thing to ask. If you hear something that you do not like and it makes you angry or makes you feel some kind of way, you get triggered, don't leave. Stay to the end and let us have the opportunity to maybe change your train of thought on some things or change your paradigm. That's all I'm asking. And make sure you drop a comment that says made it to the end so that we know that you actually watched the whole thing.
Well, I think people do need to realize that we're not the youngest podcasters out there.
No, that's true.
And I grew up in a day where we just told people what we thought.
Right.
Hence the straight talk.
Exactly.
You know, we all loved each other. We didn't care what color, race,
we didn't
creed,
care.
or origin. We didn't have DEI. We didn't have any crap. We just had brothers.
We had
and
words
sisters.
that you can't even say on YouTube now.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
If we talked the way we talked in high school,
Our channel would be banned.
in about a minute.
Our channel would be completely shut down. The YouTube people would be like, you can't say that.
Yep.
You can't say that. You can't even use the real words anymore. You have to say dumb things.
You're definitely someone's going to get triggered. Someone's going to get mad. But you know what? Hopefully you're entertained and you learn something. That's all I care
exactly.
about.
Exactly.
And I'm not saying I know everything. You know, what's the difference between ignorance and being an idiot?
I don't know what.
Well, I know I'm ignorant on things. I just don't know. And it's okay.
Yeah.
I'm always learning, man.
That's true.
I'm
That is
old,
true.
and every day I learn something.
That's true.
So-
Me too. I learn stuff when I do research for these shows.
Hey, my daughter's 15. She knows everything, so I should just learn everything.
You should
from her,
just
right?
have her be your tutor.
Exactly.
Bring her on the show.
Yep, we will.
All right.
So today we're going to be talking about getting into the midterms.
It's important.
I know people are like, midterms? Trump just got into office. Everyone just got into office.
Right.
But before we know it, we're going to be voting on the midterms.
Well, in a year.
Yeah.
A year. I take that back. In about a year and 3 months,
Yep.
The candidates already have to have their stuff in.
Yep.
I mean, it's coming. It's coming.
Well, and the thing is I know, a lot of our audience is probably more on the conservative right side, right?
Right. Right now.
But we don't care. I mean, I
No.
want everyone listening because you know what? At the end of the day, open dialogue is what's really missing.
Absolutely.
We got people on the left, people on the right. I don't care. I'm for the right cause.
Me too.
And if a Democrat stands up and says the right thing, I'll applaud them.
Right.
If the Republican says the wrong thing, I'll scold them.
Yeah.
I'll
give
I'm
credit.
an equal opportunity hater.
Exactly. But but I'm also an equal opportunity appreciator.
Yes, and I was going to get around to that too. Because at the end of the day, there's things that people do that are bad, and there's things that people do that are good, and we can't always focus on the bad or always on the good.
And good and
you
bad.
got to look at the works as a whole.
Good and bad are actually subjective.
Exactly. Yeah. Yep.
You might see something and think it's like the end of the world. The earth stops spinning. I might see it and be like, man, that's stupid, but it ain't that bad. It's all subjective.
Exactly, like the Impossible Hamburger.
Exactly.
I'm sorry, dude. Don't call it a hamburger. It's made out of plants.
Yeah.
See, in my opinion, that's not a real thing.
That's
bad. But somebody else thinks it's good.
But it's an Impossible burger because it's made out of soy. So it's not like the marketing's not wrong. That shit's a lie.
It's impossible. Exactly. All right. Well, let's get into it here.
Right.
So, why is it important that we spend as much? And it gets lost, Chris. It always gets lost. We need to spend as much, if not more, energy on these midterms, getting the supporting cast elected around Trump at the federal level and even the state and the local level as it was getting Trump in there.
Right. Statistically, it's harder.
Yeah.
Statistically, a sitting president does not keep control at his midterm.
17 out of 19 times he's lost it since since World War II.
17 out of 19 times.
Yep.
So what does that mean for us? That literally means if we don't figure out how to win,
Yep.
if we don't win, period, Trump is done in a year and a half.
Well, based off our previous episode, we talked about winning while we have control.
Right.
So if they start implementing, all they got to do is listen to our podcast, Chris, and they'll get all the answers. But if we actually get some of these things pushed through, it's going to make the midterms easier.
Absolutely.
Right? Because you have, listen, do you want more of this?
Right.
If not, then don't
Right.
go vote. If you want more of this, if you want the lower taxes, if you want more freedoms, and I'm sorry, if we eliminate income tax for everybody under 200K, that is not a Republican or Democrat thing.
Exactly.
That's an American thing.
Exactly.
And that's something, when I get my paycheck on Friday and I don't see any withholdings, I'm liking the man.
Exactly.
And I'm liking everyone who pulled the trigger on that
Yep.
on that bill, right?
Absolutely.
So we got to get those things done. But a lot of the things that are on Trump's agenda, and quite frankly, America's agenda, right? Because we didn't send Trump there for his agenda. He's there representing us,
Exactly.
right?
We gave him the mandate.
We gave him the mandate of what we wanted, and he's doing it.
Right.
He's cutting the fraud. He's looking in at Doge. We talked about
Right,
that. We
right.
love that. So these are the things that he's doing, but he just needs more time.
Right.
I mean,
He needs all
unfortunately,
4 years.
Yeah, he's going to need 4 years to do it, and
I know what people are saying. Well, he's going to be the president for those next. It doesn't matter.
it doesn't matter. Yeah.
I mean,
and we're going to get more into
that
how
idiot-
ineffective he becomes if
That
we don't
idiot
win.
congressman out of somewhere over near Dearborn or
Yep.
somewhere Michigan just dropped 7
Yeah. Oh, we're
articles of impeachment.
We're gonna get.
I mean,
give me a minute. We're gonna
talk
we're gonna
about
get into
playing
that.
your
Yeah.
hand early.
We're gonna get into that, right? So, one of the key things that I think a good midterm win will be, especially at the federal level, is, and even at the state level, it eliminates a lot of excuses, right?
Absolutely.
So, when you talk to a lot of politicians, like, well, I can't support this bill because my constituents say X or my constituents say Y.
Exactly.
But if once you're reelected, you know what? You're
No
there
more
to
excuses.
represent them. There's no more excuses, right? And we got to rally, kind of we talked about before. You got to rally behind the president. You
Put
gotta
up or
rally
shut
behind
up.
the agenda. Put up and get these things done.
Exactly.
But where it's important, right?
Yeah.
So if we don't maintain control, we lose the ability to talk about what bills are coming up.
If we don't maintain control,
If we don't maintain control,
whatever has been started that has not been completed by that end of the election ends.
Yeah. So if you want to see the tips, no tips on or
forget it.
No taxes on tips.
Yep.
If you want to
Forget
see an
it.
income tax thing, if you want to see
people,
they've even talked about eliminating property tax.
If you want to see people go to jail because of investigations, he's got to win. Because if he loses, those investigations go away, and Comey with his 86-47 walks.
Yeah, all of our because that's the other thing too is all the committees.
Everything,
right?
Everything.
So when you lose control, you lose the committees. So the committees are the ones like, hey, let's bring up charges against all these these fraudulent workers. All the fraud and investigation that's been uncovered to date. And I don't know about you, Chris, but I just want to see someone go to jail.
I mean, we did.
No.
We saw innocent people go to jail.
We've seen innocent people go to jail. I want to see because we want to rid the corruption. We want to get rid of the crony politics, right? Until someone loses their rights as a citizen,
then that'll change.
That it ain't gonna.
It won't change until
nothing is gonna change until they're like, oh crap! Did you see that senator or congressman?
Right.
You know, I don't care about some low-level official. I don't care about someone working at,
Well, like the judge in Wisconsin.
The judge in Wisconsin,
for hiding illegals.
Hiding illegals, things like that. But, some of these people that are creating these illegal acts, or, committing these crimes, they have to be punished. And none of that can happen.
Right.
It takes time for these investigations. And if we lose the midterms, they stop. There's no more investigations.
Why would Trump push so hard to get all the Biden crime family pardons thrown out?
Yeah.
If he wasn't going to do something about it.
Yep.
But if we lose the midterm, then nothing gets done about it.
Well,
and Sleepy Joe can lay up in his bed, having his oatmeal, and not have to worry about nothing.
It's Sleepy Joe and the 400 layers below.
Right.
So, but then you got the other side of that, right? So we lose the budget battle. We lose the committees. We lose all the investigations.
We lose the DEI.
Oh, DEI is immediately back.
Yeah.
All
forget about it. If you're a parent, your little boy or your little girl is going to be told that they can be whatever they want in the classroom. Mommy and daddy don't have to know.
Oh.
That's what's going to happen.
So, hey, we're going to offend somebody right now.
I'm ready.
You ready?
I mean, okay. This is going to offend a Democrat. And then I'll offend the Republicans in a minute. But this one will.
Okay.
So the new Pope.
Yep.
Democrats, Catholics alike. The View, those cackling hens, loving the Pope right now.
Right.
Till they see that he's not about the T in LGBTQ.
Oh.
He said flat out, you idiots are making too many genders that don't exist, and it's confusing. No.
Well, that goes to my question. Now, they're late 70s or early 80s. It's old now. I can't remember. But they actually had sexual education in school.
Right.
And they talked about reproduction.
Yes.
How in the name of God would you as a 6th grade teacher teach sex ed today? Hold on. Serious question.
Yeah.
Serious question. So
you could
I know
never,
we're talking about midterms, but this kind of goes along with it.
You could never truly teach sex ed like we were taught today because you got the kid in the back talking about, I'm non-binary.
Right.
Does that mean you don't have sexual organs? Or that you just need to sit in the corner and mind your own business because the binary people are talking? Yeah. I mean, come on.
So we've taught kids that you feel like you're born one gender and you feel you're another. We can help you transition.
Right.
Are they not teaching them that it takes a biological man and a biological woman to make a baby?
No.
Because
All they're teaching them
that goes against everything else.
all they're teaching them is it takes this particular appendage and this particular body to make a baby, because a woman can have that appendage and a man can have that appendage if you think you're a woman. Okay. Don't get me started. This is going to be the part later that's going to really upset people.
So what I'm going to want to do is, if anyone has any materials,
right,
what they teach, please throw them down in the comments.
Send them to Dave. I don't give a shit.
No,
Send them to Dave.
Seriously. Well, again, my kids go to a private school, but I'm seriously curious on how you would teach this today. How would you teach reproduction?
You know what's beautiful? If we win the midterms, this conversation don't mean anything.
Exactly, and which is why we need to win. There's no doubt about it. So, along with what you're kind of saying earlier, and I want to elaborate on that a little bit, is impeachment, right?
Right.
So right now, we are investigating true crimes.
Right.
We are investigating laws that have been broken. We are investigating families that have extorted billions of dollars from the American people. We have people running scared right now with Doge. Yes. It is a time to where people are literally getting out of politics because it's no longer profitable to be in politics, right?
If you were in the military, this would be the time that the enemy was on the run.
Yes.
Now you have to make that decision. Am I going to step on his neck and end this? Or am I going to let him run away to live to fight another day?
Yep. We need to.
I want to crush him.
We want to crush him. Well, you're in the military. You know that, right?
Right.
You don't like
victory
because if
over anything.
Because the thing is that if you let him get away,
he'll come back.
He's coming back, and he's coming back shooting at you.
Right? And he'll bring a friend.
And that's what's going to happen.
He'll come back and bring a friend.
If we lose, not win. If we lose,
right.
Instead of us prosecuting real criminals,
they're going to be coming at us.
They're going to be coming at Trump. They're going to be coming at everybody who's trying to make a difference, because they're exposing the fraud and they're exposing the lie.
Absolutely.
Right? So it's imperative. And along that, now I know you got your Trump Force captain shirt on today, right?
Yeah.
You were very imperative in the Trump Force 47 here in Jackson County.
Yep.
So what was the excitement level like leading up to that election?
The excitement level was, there was a lot of people that were worried it was going to be stolen again.
Yeah, I was one of them. I admitted it. I was 100%.
But when you're out on the streets, you're knocking the doors. I was actually surprised at the amount of people that, even though you would think with the times the way they were, people would be like quiet about it.
Yep.
They were bold. They were just out, and I mean, we gave away, I think, 4,000 Trump signs in Jackson County alone.
Okay, so you gave away 4,000 Trump signs. So you had 4,000 people raise their hand.
It said, "Give me a sign."
It says, "Give me a sign. Let me tell the world that I'm backing this man."
Yeah.
Okay. How many signs are we going to get picked up for the midterms?
I have no idea.
Think it'll be 100?
Maybe, if we're lucky. Okay. No, less.
So
less, because here's why.
Go ahead.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, if you're listening to this podcast, we need that 4,000 number back.
Right.
Because if you are that excited to, and again, it's very polarizing right now.
It is.
Right? So you stick that sign in your yard, your neighbor may be trying to run it over with their Suburban
exactly.
the next day, right? But you were bold enough to put your sign out in your yard.
Yep.
You need to be bold enough to stand up and talk to your neighbors. Everyone who picked up a sign needs to come and have that much energy.
Yep.
Because without the midterms, what you did in 2024
means nothing in 26.
Nothing in 26.
Yep. You know, that even goes to the local level.
You've chopped his legs off.
You know that, right?
What's that?
We're talking federally, but that also counts at the local level.
Yes, absolutely.
Here in Jackson, we have 3 wards in the city, 3 wards that are up for re-election in 2026. And I don't know if a lot of you aren't from this area. Jackson is very blue. It's because of the city of Jackson that our county is relatively purple on a map. We could change that.
Oh, that 4,000 number, if half of them became somewhat active.
All we have to do is get the city to open their eyes.
Yep.
And it takes people on the ground. It takes boots on the ground, knocking doors to make those things happen.
Well, we actually, I met a young gentleman that's from Jackson, and I'm going to try to get him on the show.
Okay, cool.
He, if you're familiar with Doge and their links from corruption from A to B to C.
Yeah.
This young kid, I've had some and he's very.
What's his name?
I'm not going to put that out there.
Okay.
Because I got to make. That's
I
part
think I know who you're talking about, though.
That's-
Local activist.
Local activist.
Okay.
You know, he's not political as
Yeah,
far
I know
as
who he
party
is.
and stuff like that.
Got him.
But man, this kid's done his research,
Right.
Chris, and we need people like him to start, passing the knowledge out
Yep.
that he has in his head to wake people up, because not only like you said, we need that at the federal level, we need it at the state level, and we need it locally.
Yep.
Because if we get active locally, it's a bottom up.
It is.
It really works.
It
right?
is.
So when we talk about fraud and a lot of other things we talk about, if we win these local elections, what was it? Antrim County, they dumped $500,000
Right.
into a county clerk's race.
Yeah, it's crazy, right?
So if they're dumping $500,000 into a local county clerk's race, there was something that county clerk was going to do. Now, thankfully, they lost.
Yeah, I mean, I see what you're saying. I was going to say, no, it's nothing the county clerk was going to do. It was what the machine was going to force
have them
to
to do. Right. But that's the kind of example. So, absolutely it's imperative that we win these midterms
Yes.
at every level. But we're not going to do it without the excitement we had for 2024.
Absolutely.
And kind of getting into that, let's talk about candidates.
Okay, this is where we start pissing people off.
Yes, we're gonna get some people are gonna be mad about this, right?
Gotta sit up for this one.
So, going into the midterms, we have some positions coming up,
Right.
and we're all very strong about our people.
Yeah.
And you know what? I am all about primaries.
Oh, absolutely. Fight.
But we need to fight about what's good about our candidate,
Right.
not necessarily what's bad. So much today in politics is negative.
Right.
And even in within the Republican Party and Democrats, they're a lot better at this
Exactly.
than we are, to be honest with you.
Well,
But
they're not. They just have ride or dies.
they have ride or dies. But I'm saying, we're going to trash our candidate
Right.
to no end in the primary, right? Because we're so polarized on we don't like about this issue or we don't like him about that issue,
Right.
And at the end of the day, once that primary is over, if you voted for Trump and you do not support the Republican on that ticket, then you're not supporting Trump.
They're not supporting the Republicans.
Right.
I mean, seriously.
Well, but again, a lot of people are disenfranchised with the Republican Party.
That's fine.
But they love Trump. If you love Trump and you love the work that he's doing, you have to support the Republican that ends up on that ticket.
Sure.
You got to.
I agree with you.
You got to go pull the lever.
I agree with you.
Because if not, we lose.
Right.
You not voting for that candidate is the same as you voting for the Democrat.
That's what I mean. So if you don't vote for the candidate when they're on the ballot, not the primary.
Right.
On the ballot,
yeah.
you
Beat up the primary.
willfully say, I'm not doing that. Then to me, you willfully wanted the Democrat to win, so that makes you the bad Republican that you didn't vote for the bad Republican for.
Right. Yep.
So step your game up and start being real.
Exactly.
But
Yep.
that takes me into a whole nother ball game. But you got more on your paper. I see it. Let's go.
Yeah. So, candidates. That's where we were going, Chris.
Mike Rogers, John James.
Let's just say it. Mike Rogers, John James. Mike Rogers.
Those are the top two
let's
right
pick
now.
Mike, right? So, a lot of people were not happy with his last run.
Who? Which one are you talking about?
Rogers.
Okay.
Right. And a lot of people have a problem with this candidate or that candidate.
Right.
And if they're, and how many times have you heard that? I've heard this locally inside
Sure.
the party.
What's that?
If they're on the ballot, I'm not.
Oh, yeah. That's what I mean by that whole don't call me a bad Republican because I vote for the guy. If
Yep.
you don't vote at all, that makes you worse than me.
So let me ask you a question. If you got a candidate and you got 5 issues.
Okay.
And they're good on 3, but they suck on 2.
Okay.
How many of those 5 issues are the Democrat going to be on the same side as you?
None.
There you go.
None. It comes down to numbers. First of all, let's talk about Mike Rogers. People don't like him for a number of reasons. But the number one, and I'm going to play devil's advocate here. You can do whatever you want, say whatever you want. The number one reason, Patriot Act.
Yep.
Give me a break. The people that are arguing and screaming the most about the Patriot Act were 9 years old when that went into effect.
Yeah.
I was in the war because of the Patriot Act.
All right.
I know what every single Republican across the board was thinking and voting for.
Yep.
Nobody said, let's do the Patriot Act because we know in 20 years they're going to use it to spy on an American candidate.
Right.
Foolish, flawed people make foolish, flawed mistakes. But 25 years is a long time to hold somebody accountable for something that made sense in the heat of the moment.
At the heat of the moment, right. Well, and we covered this on a previous podcast. You know, if you don't like a law, you can change it.
Exactly.
You know,
they can change it.
Everybody who's complained about that, anyone today,
right?
Any Republican today who's complaining about the Patriot Act,
right?
They're just as much at fault as anyone who passed.
You know what else is nuts?
Ago, right? Because they have the ability to change it right now. They have control. We've talked about this.
Right.
You have the power. Make it go away.
Right.
Change it. You know, do what you need to do to make it fit for today's technology. Do what you need to do to make it fit for today's world.
Right. I had people die hard against Rogers tell me if he would look me in the face and apologize for the Patriot Act, I would vote for him. I was like, it makes no sense.
Right.
You're not one. I don't know that that's necessarily true.
But are you going to apologize for something that was right at the time?
Exactly.
You know,
that's like reparations.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
They want us to pay reparations to generational slavery. You were not affected by it. You were not involved with it. Right.
Right.
Same thing. You want this man to go back 25 years and apologize for something that everybody was doing.
And they were supporting
Needed.
it. Yeah.
Needed. It's crazy to me.
I remember when the Patriot Act was passed. It was, you know, hey, we're getting attacked.
It was nuts.
They're using technology, and they're using these systems, and we need to be able to monitor these systems.
Right.
Absolutely.
Now, if you listen to people like Shane Trejo, he has a long list of things, but not every voter has a list of things. Right?
So who's the perfect candidate then, Chris?
There isn't. We are all flawed people. You'll never find a perfect anything.
Right.
Ever. You can find what comes close.
Right. And I think that prevents people from running.
You
know, because I'll be honest, you know, I joked about running for office a couple times.
Right.
My wife's like, don't even.
I couldn't. The stuff that they would pull out of my closet.
Oh, yeah. I would have to start to start out with, okay, first of all, everything they're probably going to say is true.
Right.
And there's some stuff I may not be able to collaborate because I probably don't even remember.
Right. So my stories would start out. So me and my people.
Hey, we grew up in the same generation. We did a lot of stuff.
Me and my peoples, right? Alcohol not being a factor. That's how they all would start.
So how would you go about defending a candidate that people feel is flawed?
Wow. It's a good question. I wouldn't look at it from a political perspective.
Okay.
As a Christian, as a believer in Christ, I believe because everyone's flawed, we need to look at the candidates that's on the ballot, not a primary, on the ballot, through this biblical lens.
Okay.
If you look at the ballot, you're going to see 2 names.
Yep.
You're going to know which name is doing things closer to God's will and which name is doing things farther away from God's will.
Yep.
You're going to look at that ballot and you're going to say, this party believes in transgender ideology, which means that God was so stupid, he made a mistake and he put a boy in a girl's body or a girl in a boy's body.
Right.
You vote for that candidate or you don't vote for the Republican knowing that candidate then will win. You just said God's stupid. You're going to say, I never said that. But you sanctioned the party that did.
Right. Well, we talked about, Rogers and the Patriot Act.
Yes.
Right. How are we going to get across to people that, people have passed?
Okay. I'm going to ask you a question.
Okay.
Let's talk local. Let's not worry about the state. You picture the local party.
Yep.
Okay. I'm a candidate.
Yep.
I come walking in and I say, I'm running for mayor. Mm-hmm. Everyone here knows that I've been having an affair with this woman. Yes, the breaking news that came out last week is true. I did conspire to send her husband off to his death so that I could marry her and make her my own. I want you to support me. Would any Republican support that candidate?
God, no.
No.
No, because, you it's the past,
Right.
Crap. I mean, look at Kavanaugh.
Right.
He hit on a girl in high school and
Had a beer at a party.
Had a beer
Yeah.
at a party in high school. You
Okay.
can't be right. Yeah, of course not. No.
Okay.
No.
How about this?
No decent Republican is going to support that.
Okay, how about this? I killed somebody, and I've been on the run for 40 years. And I decided I'm coming back, and I'm not just going to face those charges. I'm going to take control, and I want to hold a position of power. Would you support me? Would any Republican support me?
No, of course
No.
not.
Well, thank goodness that it's not left up to us to decide those things. Because if that were true, we as Republicans would not support King David from the Bible or Moses from the Bible. But God said, none of that matters. I have a plan and a purpose for you. Moses, yeah, you killed somebody and you lived in the desert for 40 years.
Yep.
You're going to come and save the Israelites. David, I know you're a freak. Peeping Tom, looking at her from the shower, pulling her into the house, get her husband killed. But I have a plan for you that's bigger than all of that. Because my son is going to come from your bloodline. But we won't give that person a chance because we know better than God. See, the Bible tells us that God puts people in positions of power.
Right.
Right? But we got to do our part.
Right.
Did you hear that?
We got to do our and allow them to do what they need to do.
And what does that mean? Oh, people are going to say, well, if God does it, doesn't mean nothing. No, not true. You know the parable of the talents?
Yep.
God gave 3 men different amounts of money. Everyone thinks that's a financial story. It's not. It's bigger than that.
Right.
It's about just doing something.
Yep.
Okay? If you go to the ballot box and you can't look through that lens to see which candidate is good or bad, which candidate's more towards God and more away, and you walk away, you're that person that buried the talent in the ground and did nothing with it.
Right.
The one who God actually came back and chastised, according to that parable. The master came back and said, you did nothing. You didn't even stand up and make a choice.
Right. Okay. So just so everybody, I'm going to make this perfectly clear. I am not saying Trump is God.
No, neither am I.
Okay. So, taking your analogy there, Chris, say Rogers does get into the primary and then gets in,
Okay.
and he gets on the ballot and Trump endorses him.
And okay, what would you say to that? If Trump endorses him,
right? Does that
change your perspective if you don't like Rogers?
Because in your analogy that you just said there, then I need to trust that Trump has a plan.
You voted for him to be
Rogers.
president, right?
Right.
That means you trust him to make decisions for the country.
And as a Republican for the Republican Party.
So then you're telling me you don't trust his choice of a candidate that he endorsed?
Right.
Well, then you ain't about nothing. Then
Right.
you can't even tell me that you support Trump because you don't support him when it comes time for you to get out of your own way and stop worrying about your own personal agenda.
Yep.
And that's what's going to lose us the midterm.
And that's why we need to stand behind the candidates.
Absolutely.
Whether we like them or not.
I mean,
Hey, a bad Republican's always better than a good Democrat, right?
right. A good Democrat's going to vote Republican 0. of the time. A bad Republican, even if it's 50% of the time, that's 50% more wins than if the Democrat's in office. I don't care.
And that's why we fight in the primaries,
exactly.
not in the general election.
And I don't care if you got to hold your nose, take a barf bag into the polling booth. Just like the Democrats are blue no matter who. When it comes to this midterm, every Republican needs to be red till I'm dead.
Yep.
End of story.
Yep.
If we want to win. If you really don't care about what you said at the beginning of this, if you want Trump's presidency to end in the next year and a half, and
which it will. If we lose the midterms, we know it will.
If John James is running for governor or Mike Rogers is running for Senate, and you're flat out not going to vote for them, just stay home.
Yep.
Just stay home.
Well, it's one of those things, but don't complain afterwards.
Right. And don't every time somebody brings up their name talk about how much you hate them.
Yep.
Because you are the sellout, in my opinion. And that's going to upset some people. I don't care. Drop it in the comments. We can have a conversation.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm 100% on board with you on this one, Chris, because I think ultimately we got to get through the midterms to see what we can accomplish.
Absolutely.
The last 2 years. Because if not, the last 2 years, it's going to be well, we saw it in his last administration.
Right.
It was an absolute circus.
Do you remember, I believe it was in the book of Isaiah. It was this last time Trump was running for office. And everybody was like, Isaiah chapter 45 or whatever. And it was all about God putting people in positions of power. And they acquitted that to Trump. In that same book, God used a Persian king, completely anti-Israel king, sent him to rule over Israel for a season, right?
Yep.
On purpose.
Yep.
The Israelites couldn't understand it, hated it. But it was because God chose that person that they had a victory.
Yep.
Mike Rogers, John James, those could be your victories. Because it's not just about how they vote. It's about the number that they actually represent to keep control.
Yep. Exactly. All right.
We got a little deep. I think we're good there.
Okay.
Sorry if I offended anybody. Sorry, not sorry.
Yep. That's part of what we do here.
So let us know in the comments. If you haven't subscribed,
right,
hit that subscribe
and
button.
If you have an idea, if you're like, guys, you're off the mark,
right?
Let us know. We're not saying we're the authorities on everything here. We got a microphone and we're giving our opinions, but
right.
The nice thing about us versus a lot of other people is we're willing to learn.
Absolutely.
And most importantly, willing to listen.
And we have that conversation. Absolutely.
All right.
But yeah, thanks for watching. Like, comment, share, subscribe. Ring the notification bell so you don't miss the next video. But yeah, I'm Chris.
I'm Dave, and God bless America.